spend about half of my time now tracking down and chasing down my various guests. In this particular case, Bradford Ferguson is just down the road in San Diego. Well, about an hour and a half drive. And Bradford, I understand you went to the San Diego Zoo today. That's some people think it's the best zoo in the United States, but the Bronx is really upset with that concept. What did you think?
It's a really nice zoo. I haven't been to the Bronx Zoo or the St. Louis Zoo. It's just very well designed and maintained. It's also a botanical garden. Yeah, it's just really nice, and our family enjoyed it. Really liking the Coronado area
Ah, yeah.
near San Diego. It's where a bunch of military bases are. Yesterday we rented a speedboat and drove up San Diego Bay, and there was a helicopter that flew over us like 4 times as a military helicopter. I think they were pretending that we were a bogey or something.
Yeah, they probably were. Got to watch out for those guys. Lots of military down in the southern part of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. So Tesla stock, in my opinion, what do I know, should be benefiting right now from really good China numbers. 4680 dry cathode update, the Megapack story out of last weekend, the full self-driving 12.5 praises that just go on and on and on and on. And new vehicles coming just a few months from now, lots of new vehicles. Not to mention the 1010 situation. And then there's Optimus. But it was down, I don't know, 14, 15 points today, a little bit more in the after hours. But I don't think it has much to do with Tesla. It seems like every time the stock tries to move up with all this good news, the macro slaps it back down. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, there were some bad macro numbers. I don't know why, like today set off the market as a whole, particularly as a ISM number relating to manufacturing. So Institute of Supply Management, I believe.
Yes.
And basically said manufacturing is in a contraction, or maybe manufacturing is important to the US economy, but it's less than 20%. So, while it is negative news that manufacturing may be suffering a bit right here, it's not a be all end all. But like when taken in aggregation of everything else, I believe like the service side of the economy was down recently.
Yes.
And Jay Powell acknowledged they may be reducing rates in September, so I was wrong.
Well, I said I've been saying only one at the most this year. And by the way, they haven't reduced them yet, so we're not wrong yet.
True. But it can be negative when the Fed does reduce rates. I guess in some ways it'll help grow stocks, or it may help companies that are dependent on big purchases that are financed and are dependent on where interest rates are. But typically it's a signal of weakness in the economy when the Fed's lowering rates.
Yeah, and they acknowledge that the economy is weakening. They said it was still fine, but weakening. They said that, jobs were still fine, but weakening. I think that they're either intentionally misleading us or they are not getting all the same numbers I am, because housing is down. Clearly the auto numbers were terrible. We've got Boeing and Southwest and Delta, and one more. There was like 3 airline stocks.
UPS,
yes,
on the transportation side, yeah.
Right. And then today we got hit again in the tech sector with yeah.
Was it Amazon today, or?
Amazon was the worst one, not the worst one actually. Snap and the other smaller tech. I can't keep all the names straight anymore. Anyway, but there was a lot of tech negatives today to add to the other tech negatives that we've already gotten so far. So the earnings season, and some of this is also in the guidance not being good. They're getting knocked down because the guidance is not there. Oh, Cisco, I think, was the other one that was down today.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so with all of that, I mean, certainly the Fed is aware of this stuff better than I am. You would think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Oh, and the other thing about the two manufacturing reports that came out this morning, S&P and the IMF, both of them saying contraction, was that it wasn't just the consumer, but they acknowledged that the consumer is not spending. Oh yeah, and that reminds me, McDonald's statement. So it's not
Yeah,
only
McDonald's earnings weren't that great.
the CEO came out the other day and said it was across all income groups.
Of customer.
The customer that's not coming in the door are spending less, are spending on
Mhm.
less expensive things was across all income groups.
Mhm.
Worse for the low income groups, but across all. But the other thing was that I think it was the IMF one this morning said that corporations are not buying capital goods. So the capital goods sector is getting hit, which of course the tech industry is, going to be impacted by corporations not spending on upgrading their computers and related stuff.
Well, they are spending a lot on the AI compute, so that is happening.
A bunch of, a few companies. Yeah.
But maybe beyond that, it's not
Yes.
happening. It's slowing down.
So these big companies that are spending all this money on AI compute need eventually to be able to sell the programs and the apps to the companies. And they're not spending any money right now. So are not spending as much. So it's a reduction. It's not the end of the world. I'm not trying to paint a picture that it's terrible. So the macro got slammed, and you can see it, as those reports came out, the market tanked. Tesla had
but also like it may have been some exhaustion from the prior day. So you had like a couple days ago,
right.
several stocks were down, Nvidia was down a ton, and then you had this big whiplash where people saw the capex intentions of Microsoft and Meta and others. AJ on X did a great job highlighting this.
Right.
And so, maybe all like the dip buying that happened yesterday, maybe that got exhausted. And that's part of the reason why the move down today was as pronounced.
Yeah, I think there was also bad labor numbers this morning, but I think the big question becomes, with those bad labor numbers, do we move into a 4.2 tomorrow or a 4.3 tomorrow, or low numbers, low numbers in terms of the jobs created? Or do we have big adjustments to the prior months like we've been seeing? So I think there was probably nervousness also of not wanting to be on the wrong side of the trade tomorrow.
I don't really have a comment on where I think jobs is going to come in, or unemployment. So yeah, I'm curious to see what the numbers show.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
you end up having these big revisions. So I think more so people are going to look at revisions that come out tomorrow. I'm guessing there'll be revisions, and then they'll not really trust the numbers that are coming out tomorrow and be curious how they get revised moving forward.
Let me revise what I said a minute ago. It was not Cisco, it was Intel. So Intel was the one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so on the other side of the coin, let's go back to Tesla again. You were pointing out to me in the green room that we've had an interesting story, I think, with regard to keeping our teenagers under control when they're using our car.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that one.
So it seems like safety has been highlighted, and Elon, retweeted a story that was 2 years old where they talked about how the act of safety in a Tesla was the best in the world. But more recently, the software update in a Tesla is you're able to do parental controls on your Tesla now. So like safety is becoming more and more of a reason why people should consider getting a Tesla. So you can limit the speed, the amount, how quickly the car can go as far as the top speed. You can limit that for parental controls in the app. You can limit the acceleration to chill. You can have it report to you if there's a curfew violation, like after 11 p.m. One of the things that I like, especially about this parental control, is you can force the active safety to be on. So
Oh,
like the various ways the cars help you stay in your lane, and beeps at you, drifts out of the lane, or does the automatic emergency braking. You can force those features to be on.
that's
So
good.
a
Yeah,
lot of safety for your kids. Like I think safety is a great reason why people should consider getting a Tesla.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I think so too. Now, I do admit that, because I had as I mentioned on the show, I was driving a Volvo for the last many years, and it was a 300 horsepower, it was a very fast car. But I would tell my sons, I would say, look, zero, however fast you want to get from 0 to 60, I don't care. It's the
Mhm.
rest of it I care about. Just but if you want to if you want to have some fun going 0 to 60 really fast, that's perfectly okay with me. So I guess I turn off the chill feature on the on the Tesla.
Mhm.
All right. So we also had some news out of Sunday that you were mentioning. I know we've talked a little bit about all the interview that took place on Sunday, but was there particular things that you saw that you thought were worth bringing up?
Elon just seemed very confident and relaxed. He gave some updates about Starship. It sounds like Starship 7 especially is going to um, just move things away. They'll solve some things around like the heat treat like the heat shield and all that. Um, so be interesting on that. But also Elon was just very focused about autonomy and humanoid bot, and he had some funny things to say around autonomy, where he compared like your car being able to drive itself as like a cat that can sing and dance. It looks like a normal cat, like your Tesla looks like a normal car,
Right,
but it can drive itself
right, right.
anywhere in the country. Uh,
Anytime.
can do a great job getting you from a driveway to a place of business. And there's no other car that can do that, but it looks like any other car in a
Right,
way.
right.
So um, yeah, he seemed very confident about it, and he's been posting on X about how they're going to in early August, maybe in as little as 7 days, that they'll push out an update to include hardware 3 cars in 12.5. There's a lot of fear that because they started with hardware 4 cars and excluded hardware 3 cars for 12.5, that somehow the hardware 3 cars weren't capable. And Elon is extremely confident that they'll be capable. And yeah, I'm curious to see how far hardware 3 cars can go, but I don't think they're close to their limit yet.
Yeah, that's
Um, and Elon said in the earnings call that all or nearly all Teslas will be on the robotaxi network or be capable of it.
mhm.
Maybe they'll exclude ones that don't have the cabin camera. Who knows? Or maybe it's a certain level of hardware. But like I think even like they call it MCU1 cars have like 12.3.6, and that's like the very first computers they had in the Model S's, which
Hmm.
is pretty shocking. So
Okay.
like I don't think people are aware of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what people are going to be focusing on moving forward. We also had a video about Tesla Energy, about these unsatisfied performance obligations,
UPOs or something?
UPOs, yeah.
UPO, yeah.
And we're continuing to look into the issue, and we're asking Tesla IR to clarify for us. But we've heard back from some high-level accountants and auditors, and they believe that we're on the correct path. And
Oh, good.
so basically, what these UPOs are is it's this thing that Tesla had to disclose in their quarterly 10Q that said, we have this revenue that's coming if we satisfy these obligations with the Megapack. And essentially it's like the Megapack gets on site and then it doesn't immediately get connected to the grid or energized. And so they're not able to test like if it works. But then like once the final grid connection goes through and it gets connected and energized and they test it, then they can run all these tests and see how good it is. And the major question is this an asset? Is it a high margin asset where they've already recognized a lot of the cost for the Megapack, and then the rest is just gravy and drops right to the bottom line?
Right.
Or is this an asset where the cost kind of gets pro rata done with the incoming revenue, so that maybe the gross margin's lower on this, or like around 25%.
Right.
Or there's a chance it's not really an asset. We're just reading it wrong, but pretty high level auditors have reached out to us and said they agree with us. So we'll see what Tesla IR has to say, and I'm curious what other people think.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense to me. I am not a CPA, not even close, but I've been running companies for a very, very long time and had to deal with all kinds of accounting issues, including subscriptions and things of that nature, which are dealt with in a very different way. I had an assurance company for a while where you're getting the revenue immediately, and yet you have an obligation to pay off if the thing goes wrong downstream. So I've been through a lot of this myself, and I think it seems like you're on track, but it's partially dependent on what Tesla's own internal CPA decided to do.
Yeah.
So not 100% what the rules are. It's partially how did Tesla interpret the rules. So that's good that we're asking IR for an update on that.
And generally with the areas where Tesla has a choice that could be more conservative or more aggressive, we've seen Tesla be more conservative on the accounting side. So the more conservative path with respect to Megapack would be to recognize more cost up front. And then you would have like a higher profit later where there'd be less costs associated with it. So it's more aggressive to assume more cost up front. That's just generally true in accounting. So, this would be the more conservative choice, which would make sense. And it's just, there's a potential that this has higher margin just because it's mainly a software feature. It's a feature that's already built into the Megapacks. They're not really having to do more or make more. And the whole reason Randy and I are talking about this is it's a lot of money. This area in total increased by $1.8 billion over the last quarter. And over the next 4 quarters, the current portion that Tesla expects to achieve or recognize is $2.6 billion. So that's a pretty nice added amount of money. And we're curious, how much gets added next quarter, how much gets recognized next quarter. We'll see what happens.
We have so many of these little hidden treasures. We have, FSD money that will come in once it's a feature complete. There's a whole stack of money that's sitting there that Tesla will be able to recognize that's just sitting on the books, already been received. So it's not going to affect cash flow, but it affects revenue and profit. We've got another stack of money that's hidden in the what do you call it? Regulatory credits.
Yes,
Tesla
$5 billion
$5 billion
long-term contracts to sell the EV credits. Right. That's a lot of money.
A lot of money. So anyways, you start putting those three together and you've got more money coming in from the hidden resources than you do from the sale of hardware. So it's kind of fun. All right. So there was something, what was I thinking of here a minute ago? Yeah, it went out of my head. Okay. So what else? Is there anything else that you're thinking about right now on Tesla that is worthy of bringing up today?
You mentioned China. Did you want to get a little
The
deeper
China
on
was
that?
just,
I didn't really have much, but you go ahead.
yeah, there was just, there was pretty funny. Some people this morning when Tesla went down pre-market, or, pre-market this morning, and then it was down a little bit when the market opened, people were saying, well, that was because of good sales by NIO and a couple of the other ones in China. And I'm thinking, why would it go down? Because those guys did well. That would indicate that the China auto market is doing better. So the headline made absolutely, or the article made absolutely no sense to me. I don't know why it went down this morning. It could have been really just there could have been people taking some profits after that big run up yesterday, but it started to go back up. It was headed toward the green, and then all this other stuff hit on the macro. So that's why I asked you if you thought it was about the macro, because you could just see, all the rest of them started going down like crazy, and Tesla just went with it. So it seemed like that was what was going on.
Yeah. I'm curious what tomorrow is, because like it seems like whiplash over the last 3 days.
Every time you try.
Kind of crazy.
So, but then we get back to my theory. So, I want to own it. My theory is that we've already had the 5% correction, but we probably need a 10% correction on the S&P and the Dow, with probably a 20% correction on the NASDAQ. And we've already had a 10% correction on the NASDAQ. So if the numbers tomorrow are 4.1 like last time, probably 4.0 is okay. Probably 4.2 might be okay. But then if there's any other noise, if it's 4.2 or 4.0 and there's any other noise in that same direction, I think we get the correction maybe in 1 day. Well, okay, no, not 1 day, but over a couple of 3 days. But if it stays right there if it stays in the middle and there's no other noise, I think maybe the market could begin to move back up again, just in anticipation of the cuts. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like the news today wasn't like super consequential, and that it like set off the market. So yeah, I wonder if it's just like trading activity, and like we get this huge bounce back tomorrow. People are worrying more about recession, but like, what was it really today that drove the recession thoughts? Like like over a cliff or whatever. I don't really see why suddenly people are agreeing with recession. So
How come they're finally agreeing with me is the question. And Larry too. My sense is this. Okay, and you may know I've written a book on recession about, I don't know, 20 years, 25 years ago. So I've studied recessions really, really hard. This one to me is about the consumer. Okay, if it's going to be a recession, I think it's going to be the consumer running out of that money from COVID.
The stimmy money.
Yeah, and we know that's happening. I mean, there's no question that that's happening, and people are starting to rely on their credit cards. And in consumer-driven recessions in the past, it happens so fast. It's like every consumer in the country on the same day calls up their mom and says, "I'm out of money." And it just, the economy just stops. I remember in 2001, in 1 month, manufacturing dropped 25%. 1 month. So that was not the dot-com bust. That was 10 months after the dot-com bust. And headlines in the LA Times, I can still see them because I was a manufacturer at the time. And it was like manufacturing down 25% in the month of September, I think it was.
Wow.
It could just happen in an instant. And that's what I contend happened in June. Not as bad, not as bad as that one, but I contend that in June, the consumer ran out of money. Corporations began to see it. McDonald's began to see it. A lot of folks began to see it. And it's really going to become evident as we get into July numbers, as July numbers start coming out in August, it'll be evident. And that'll be, and it's really, and the other thing is you may remember that last year, the third quarter was up like 5.3 on GDP. How are you going to top that? So it's very likely that the year over year problem is also going to be a part of the reason why the GDP will actually be down. So anyway, that's so I just feel like I've been sensing this as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's been, doing this for a very long time. I just have this sense now. I'm an optimist.
True.
I'm an optimist, and I'm sensing that the consumer is going to drive this one into the ground. So that's just, we'll see if what the job numbers are tomorrow. I think they're going to be very telling.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, consumer confidence is also in the toilet and has been for a while. So that's another thing that's causing a problem.
Yeah,
But
it's been down for a while, so it wasn't like suddenly down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that is the end of everything I needed to ask you today.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to just have a great time and go over these other numbers with me, or if you'd like to get back to your family and go have a vacation in San Diego.
Yeah. I can get back to San Diego. It's a nice sunny day.
It is a beauty.
Some bands of clouds, and watching the sunset over the Pacific is pretty nice, and it's cool to see like all the military activity around here, and people are just having a good time. This is a really nice area here.
Yeah. No, enjoy yourself. We will be back in town next Thursday, or you still got more vacation?
Yeah, I'll be back in Indiana next Thursday.
Okay, well, so
And I got 12.5.1 waiting for me.
Well, there's that. You can do your roundabouts.
Could do my roundabouts, but also check out like how it does in Indianapolis.
Yeah, that'll be great. All right, then, Bradford, thank you as always for jumping on Thursday, and follow him everywhere he goes on Rebellionaire. That's where you can find, just put Rebellionaire in the Google. No, don't use Google search anymore. We're mad at Google right now. Use Bing and put in Rebellionaire and find him wherever he is.
All right. Bye for now. Take care.
All right, you bet. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at these numbers. We have got, of course, Tesla, we know it was down 15.21 today, hitting 216, and where we go here, 216.86. In the after hours, whoops, I just hit that wrong. Up a little bit in the after hours. Let me just do it a little differently here. In the after hours, we got it up 29 cents, so picking some of that back up. Not very much, but it had been even down further in the after hours when I looked earlier. Okay, and then we had the Dow down 494, we had the NASDAQ down 405, and the S&P down 75. We had all the Magnificent Seven except for Meta. Meta was up 23, but everything else was down, and down heavily during the day. Some of those popping back. Now, let's just take a look real quick at Amazon in the after hours, down 13 more additional dollars, which is about 7%. I didn't do the actual transition there. And then Apple, which did well today, but only up $1.49. So not getting much of a bounce from their actually pretty good numbers. Okay, and then let's take a look at the bonds. There was plenty of action in the bonds today, which ended up at 3.981 at the close, is now 3.974. It had been, I think, even a little below that earlier today. So showing a little bit of additional downward pressure in the after hours, down 0.3 basis point. You got the 2-year down 1.4 in the pre-market at 4.149, and that is 15 and 3. So it is now shrinking that inversion a bit. And the 2-month actually up 3.3 in the pre-market, making it, I can't even do it anymore. It's 130, 100, over 100, almost 100, 136 basis points. It has been as high as 150 something in my recollection. So it might be heading back there. I don't know. Everything could change tomorrow morning. Believe me, this jobs number is really important. In my opinion, I could be wrong. Let's go ahead and take a look at oil. I know it was heading south last time I looked, but no, it's picked up, back up 52 in the pre-market. Texas Intermediate 76.84. Brent, though, has fallen back under 80 at 79.52. Natural gas ticking up a little bit, 0.36 in the pre-market to 1.975, but that is under $2. Dropped under $2 today for the first time in a very long time. I'm going to need to go back and look and see what the range is on that. Gold, another 940, sitting at 24.90. It was up over 25, I think. Let me look at that just real quick, so that we're not just completely wrong here. One day, here we go. No, 24.90 is the high. So it is sitting right on the high right now. Silver up 0.52 at 28.62, and copper dropped 0.27. Almost sitting back there at $4.07. So still flirting around with trying to break below 4. We've got the dollar down against both the yen and the euro. Euro not much; it's pretty close. But the yen down 0.22%. And then we've got the Bitcoin down another 353, 65,280. And here we go with the futures for tomorrow morning. What are they thinking about tomorrow? They're thinking they want to be out of the market at least a little bit more than they were. So we've got the Dow down 88, or 0.22. We've got the S&P down 0.24, or I'm sorry, down 13, or 0.24, and the NASDAQ down 73.50, or 0.39. So NASDAQ continues to be hit the hardest. Okay, that is what we're looking at for tomorrow morning. We will be on, of course, first thing, and what will be on our mind will be those job numbers. But what are we going to care about? Yeah, you know what we're going to care about. Not just the headline number, which we will care about, not just the amount that the increase or decrease or whatever in the hourly earnings, but we're going to want to look at those revisions. That's one of the things that a lot of folks are not looking at, but the revisions have been dramatic. And in my opinion, the smart folks are paying attention to those. Also, let me just leave a card for you. That would be Cern Basher's video earlier today. Man, it was stellar. It's stuff that is going to impact how your understanding of Tesla going forward. And so I'm going to just put that card right up there. I think you'll like it a lot. All right, that's all I got for you right now. As always, oh, did I mention that you should potentially join Patreon? That'd be really cool. It's been great talking to you.